Welcome to the Life After Sugar podcast, the podcast that's not just about sugar, but about your relationship with it and also with food and especially with yourself. So if you want to discover your life after sugar and hear inspiring stories from all kinds of people who also cut out sugar in their way, at their pace, for their own reasons, this is the podcast for you. Because when you take away the sugar, you can finally discover the real sweetness in your life. I'm your host, Netta Gorman, and in today's episode, I want to talk to you about something that is actually quite difficult for me to talk about. It's about emotional eating, and it's difficult for me to talk about because I remember feeling ashamed that I wasn't strong enough to handle my own emotions. And really, that's why I turned to sugar. So I want to tell you my story and then dig a little deeper into the concept of emotional eating. We'll get to that in just a minute. But first, I just wanted to tell you that if you're looking for some free resources, then I have plenty for you. First, download my 5 tips to get rid of cravings. And those 5 tips may not be what you think they are. So go to aftersugarclub.com and download your 5 tips today. And while you're at aftersugarclub.com, why not take the cravings quiz? I created this cravings quiz specifically to help you start thinking more deeply about what triggers your cravings. And when you do this quiz, you'll get your personalized score as well as my practical tips to help you take your first step to get rid of cravings. Those free resources are at aftersugarclub.com. And also, come check out the Life After Sugar Facebook page and subscribe to the Life After Sugar YouTube channel, as well as my Instagram account at My Life After Sugar, which is where you'll get all kinds of inspiration so that you can see that it's perfectly possible to live a happy and active life, even if you don't eat sugar. So let's start with my emotional eating. For the longest time, all my adult life really until my mid-40s, I didn't actually think that my behavior was emotional eating. I didn't label it at all. I just thought I liked sugar and I was the world's #1 sweet tooth and proud of it. And the fact that I was always tired and overwhelmed and stressed was just normal. I mean, I was doing my best. And honestly, if you had asked me back then, I would have said that I wasn't using sugar or chocolate or desserts or comfort foods to handle my emotions. I was just living my life. Although my yo-yo weight did bother me, and my other symptoms, like my chronic constipation, my skin breakouts, my mood swings, and my stiff joints, not to mention my cravings, especially once a month, did bother me. But again, I just thought that was normal. And when I tried to lose weight on some type of diet, and then I failed, I also thought that it was just because I didn't have enough discipline. And I really did think that I was handling my emotions as well as I possibly could. But now, looking back, I realized that food, especially sugar, was doing the coping for me. Chocolate was helping me switch off at the end of the day, and chocolate chip cookies were helping me feel comforted before bed. And quite frankly, I didn't know how else to comfort myself or if there was any other way, because sugar was doing the job, and it was doing it really well. Every night when everything finally slowed down, the dinner was done, the dishes were washed, my kid was in bed, and everything had calmed down, I remember I always felt like this is my moment, my time, And I didn't want to spoil all that by having to wonder why I was having the feelings that I was having. I just wanted to numb out. And there was always something sweet for me to look forward to. And for me, there was nothing wrong with that. I needed that comfort. And comfort foods helped me feel better. They stopped me from overthinking things and getting down on myself. And in that sense, they work. If they didn't, I wouldn't have kept reaching out for them. But when I stopped eating sugar in 2015, what changed for me wasn't learning more about nutrition or about sugar. What I really learned was that most of my life, I wasn't eating because I was hungry. I was eating because after a long, hard day of work and then looking after my family, I didn't want to think or feel anymore. And sugar did the trick. It's fast, it's predictable, and it numbed me. But when I didn't have sugar anymore, something softened inside me. I started asking myself, what do I actually need right now? And the more I read and the more people I helped, the more I learned about emotional eating. For me, emotional eating was about comfort. I did it when I was tired, lonely, bored, or emotionally empty. And food was a way to soothe myself and to soften the edges. And what I learned over time is that that kind of emotional eating is situational. And in my case, my need for emotional eating went way down the more awareness and self-compassion I developed. Of course, things didn't change all at once. I still had my emotional needs and my triggers. I just learned how to respond to them in a new way, without sugar. When I started helping other people with their emotional eating, I came into contact with lots of different realities and lots of different reasons why people turn to food to deal with their emotions. For example, trauma response, which isn't so much about comfort as it is about the need for safety. So if you've lived with chronic stress or emotional neglect or long periods of feeling unsafe or unseen, food can become a way to regulate the nervous system, not consciously, but automatically. And in those moments when you reach out for comfort foods, the body isn't asking for sugar. It's asking to feel safe. And that's when you may be having cravings because that urgency to feel safe can feel overwhelming, like a compulsion. It's like something takes over and you're just reacting. So it's not like you're not strong enough or you don't have enough willpower. It's about your nervous system doing its job the only way it knows how. I want to take a quick break to say that if this is your first time here, then welcome and thank you for listening to this podcast. And whether you're new or a regular and you haven't yet rated or reviewed this podcast, could I ask you to scroll down and tap on the stars to rate this podcast and also to write a short review to let me know how this podcast is helping you in your life after sugar. I love reading your reviews, and when you rate and review this podcast, not only does it encourage me to continue making new episodes, but it also helps to share this podcast and have more people see it so that we can help more people feel better and lose weight with less sugar. So again, thank you for rating and reviewing this podcast and for spreading the word about sugar. And this is something that Dr. Gabor Mate talks about a lot in his books. He explains that many compulsive behaviors aren't really about pleasure. They're about relief. their attempts to soothe pain or tension or overwhelm, whether it's from small things or big things like trauma. And sugar, which, yes, is an inanimate object, sugar isn't neutral. It has a real effect on the brain. It increases dopamine, it lowers stress hormones temporarily, and it creates relief quickly. Researchers like Dr. Robert Lustig have shown how sugar affects the brain's reward system, especially refined sugar. And neuroscientist Dr. Nicole Avena also talks about how sugar activates the brain in ways that can look very similar to other addictive substances. And that doesn't mean that everyone who struggles with sugar is addicted or an addict, but it does mean that repeated exposure to sugar changes how the brain responds, especially when sugar is being used repeatedly to deal with stress or emotional pain, even if you're not aware that that's why you're eating sugar. What helped me was understanding what was actually happening in my body. And then I felt that I could delve deeper to understand why I was using sugar to deal with my emotions. Because when I wasn't eating sugar, strange as it may seem, my whole system calmed down enough for me to stop judging myself and start getting curious. And this is where the work of Janine Roth really resonated with me. Not because in her books she tells you what to eat or what not to eat, but because she talks about the relationship underneath food. She writes about emotional eating as eating when you're not hungry or not stopping when you've had enough. Again, not because you're weak, not because you don't have willpower, but because something else is going on. When I was always turning to comfort foods, I didn't know it, but I was disconnected from myself. Sugar and chocolate and sweets had become a way to override my signals instead of listening to them. And the more I tried to control food, the more out of control I felt. But I'm not saying that every time we reach out for food, it's because of some big drama. Sometimes we just like the taste. But sometimes other options can give you relief or comfort or peace. Maybe you need more sleep. Maybe you need more connection with other people. Maybe you need to cry it out if you're sad. Or maybe for specific situations or traumas, therapy's a good idea. Or to do some physical activity to get your stress out. What I found was that when sugar was out of my life, I finally had the space to bring more sweetness into my life. Because for many of us, especially women and especially mothers, food has become a way we soothe ourselves. And there's no shame in that. And we don't need more discipline. We need more softness, more caring. So a real shift happened to me when I stopped asking, how do I stop these cravings? And started asking, how do I take care of myself? What do I really need? How do I want to feel? So I want to wrap up by telling you that you don't need to completely stop emotional eating to heal your relationship with sugar. I'm not saying that food and emotions aren't connected. They are, and they still are for me. What I'm saying is that it's possible to develop other coping skills that don't contain sugar in order to answer your real needs. And yes, this is definitely easier said than done, which is exactly why I created the Freedom from Cravings Formula program. Because I created this program specifically to help you go deeper into your relationship with food, especially sugar, and also into your relationship with yourself. And so that you can get guidance and support to help you stop emotional eating, break free from sugar cravings, slim down, and feel more in control around food. In the program, you'll get step-by-step guidance and customized support through the 5-step formula that I've developed so that you can live your life with more energy and fit into your favorite clothes effortlessly, feel confident in your food choices, and ditch the shame and embarrassment that you feel every time your emotions make you slip or fall off the wagon, and so that you never have to feel like you're on some kind of restrictive diet. If you're at the stage of your life when you're finally ready to look after yourself, let's chat. You can talk directly to me on a free clarity call at any time by going to aftersugarclub.com and clicking on Program at the top. You'll also find the link to talk with me with the show notes together with this episode. So go to aftersugarclub.com. Speak to you soon. That's it for this week. Keep in touch and see you soon for another episode.